Hey everybody, Dr. Phil here. I'm going to do a little video on understanding consumer and business markets, again in the wider concept of marketing management. So let's go ahead and jump right in. So the first thing I want to talk about in this video is the power of the consumer. That would be us, you and I, and many other people. Marketers are interested in learning about the process people use to make purchase decisions. A company can only deliver value with an accurate and timely understanding of the customer. Now, complex forces influence consumer choices, and of course, these forces change over time for a variety of factors. Personal attributes are frequently used to define an individual. Personal characteristics affecting consumer choices, we sort of think of the life cycle stage, and of course, age, and the family life cycle, things like education, occupation, income, so income's obviously a big one, lifestyle, and gender roles, which, are obviously differing. With regard to psychological attributes, psychological forces drive the need, shape the content and format of information stored in memory, and have an effect on point of view about products and brands. So, psychological attributes affecting consumer choices, we would think about things like motivation, attitude, perception, learning, and personality. So, two categories of values. One is cultural values, which are based on sort of national conscience, and then number two, personal values, which are held by the individual. Beliefs are more subjective opinions about something. A multi-attribute model evaluates the object on several important attributes. External forces have a direct and profound effect on the consumer decision process. Three external factors have the most significant impact on consumer choices, and those are cultural, situational, and social. So culture assimilates shared artifacts such as values, morals, beliefs, art, law, and customs into an organized system that enables people to function as members of society, more collectively. A subculture is a group within the culture that shares similar cultural artifacts created by differences in ethnicity, religion, race, or geography. The relevant factors in consumer behavior are language, cultural values, and indeed nonverbal communication. Situational factors are time sensitive and interact with both internal and external factors to affect change in the consumer. We think about things such as physical surroundings in the context of situational factors, personal circumstances, and of course, time. Now, with regard to social factors, a family is sort of more academically defined as a group of two or more people living together and related by birth, marriage, or adoption. And it's in this context we think about what we term the HLC, the household life cycle. Social class is a ranking of individuals into harmonized groups based on demographic characteristics. And again, we care about this in the sort of the realm of, aspirational purchases. What are these people, depending on where they are in life, what are they looking to buy? With regard to social factors, opinion leaders classify, explain, and share information. We also have market mavens, a reference group of individuals whose beliefs, attitudes, and behavior influence the beliefs, attitudes, and behavior of an individual. You can almost think of sort of an influencer. We also think about desirability, the degree of affiliation, and also primary and secondary groups. Now, once a problem is recognized and action is required, people seek information to try to facilitate the best decision. Minimal information search, limited information search, or maybe even an extensive information search. And of course, that's going to depend on things like how much money are you spending, what are you trying to buy, how important is it. There are six distinct differences dramatically affecting marketing strategy and tactics. Number one is relationship with customers. Number two is number and size of customers. Three is geographic concentration. Four is the complexity of the buying process. Five is complexity of the supply chain. And six is demand for products and services. So factors influencing business buying decisions. Now we're thinking more about B2B, like business to business, more so than like, B2C, business to consumer. Certainly the nature of the purchase, the number of people involved in the decision, understanding of the product being purchased, and the time frame for the decision. Key players in business markets. The North American Industrial Classification System, we always, in research, we just abbreviate that NAICS. We talk about NAICS codes. This defines 20 major business sectors based on a six-digit hierarchical code. So, as an example for manufacturers, we have original OEM purchases. We have end user purchases for things like capital equipment, also for materials, repairs, and operational MRO. And again, these would all have their own, sort of NAICS codes and subcodes. We also think about when we're talking about B2B, again, business to business markets, we think about resellers, think about all the companies in that value chain, certainly the government, that's a big one. And then any other institutions that maybe are selling not to the final consumer, to the end user, but to some sort of institution in between. And problem recognition. The business market purchase decision process is triggered when someone inside or outside the company identifies a need. And this could be triggered by simple reorders. It could be a need to consider new options, or maybe even new technologies. Certainly AI would be one of those. And then we need to think about defining the need and the product specifications. Product specifications should be clearly defined so that everyone inside and outside the firm understand. Putting product specifications into a document for distribution is known as a RFP, a request for proposal, and salespeople would typically get involved pretty early with an RFP. Now, once the company's needs have been identified and product specifications have been outlined, business customers can identify potential suppliers. And there are two common methods and ways to do this. The first one is the company creates a list of preferred or approved suppliers. And then number two is search for and identify potential suppliers. Now, there's two reasons companies solicit proposals from a number of vendors. The first one is getting more information is good, even when there is a preferred vendor. Kind of similar to, people will tell us in our personal lives, if you need a job done, it's always good to probably get 3 quotes. The second reason for this is additional proposals help in negotiating with a preferred vendor because maybe you can negotiate the quality, the price, etc. And requests for proposals accomplish two objectives. It specifies how the vendor's products meet the specs. It also allows the proposal company to include additional information. And maybe even a third objective that's not mentioned here, which I would add. Sometimes companies have a policy that says you have to get so many RFPs. And then businesses buy not just a product, they're also making a supplier choice. Decision makers know that a bad decision can be made even if the product is right, but the vendor is wrong. Reliability is the vendor's ability to meet the contract's obligations. And will the vendor go above and beyond what is specified in the contract? And again, that's going to depend on a lot of factors, right? How big is the contract? How long does it go for? What are the sort of punishments, if you will? Is there anything punitive about breaking the contract? Does the supplier see the contract as a means to more business in the future? In which case, they would have more reason to kind of put their best foot forward, if you will. All right, thanks for watching, and I will see you all in a future video.